يلا يلا.
بإذن الله سبحانه وتعالى لن يعبد سوى الله، لا نرضى بغير الله ودين الله وسنة نبي محمد بن عبد الله.
تكبير. الله أكبر.
Imagine Christians doing the same to that big shiny stone they travel across the world to go kiss. Let's get into this. Hey guys, my name is Modi and you are welcome to Modi Speaks. Today we're going to be talking about this video I stumbled across on X, showing a courageous Christian man in Speaker's Corner, UK, surrounded by a group of Muslim men hunting for a gotcha moment. But instead of crumbling or stuttering despite being surrounded and outnumbered, the Christian man flips the script and obliterates their talking points and then leaves them exposed like a kebab shop at 3 p.m. But before we get into this video, guys, please do well to subscribe to the channel if you've not already. Like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or buying me a coffee if you like, as a way of supporting the channel. All right.
With Christianity comes peace. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
What about the Crusades?
the question was,
What about the Crusades?
and if you interrupt the answer, you'll find that you don't get to ask another question. The question was, am I saying that with Christianity comes peace? No,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm saying with Christ comes peace. But then the question was,
Okay.
what about the Crusades?
Yeah.
So let me answer that directly.
Answer it.
The Crusades were launched after 7 centuries of constant Islamic aggression. Before the very first crusade was launched in 1095, Muslims had invaded the following Christian lands.
Say last.
They had invaded Christian Syria, Christian Jordan, Christian Palestine, Christian Egypt, Christian Algeria, Christian Libya, Christian Morocco, Christian Portugal, Christian Spain, Christian France, Christian Sicily, Christian Turkey, Christian Armenia, Christian Italy, all before the first crusade. The Crusades are a legitimate response to Islamic aggression and Islamic violence. I don't need to hear any lectures about the Crusades from people who support Islamic colonialism, Islamic imperialism, Islamic dominion and Arabization.
You can tell that the Muslim guys are defeated. They are pissed. They didn't plan on him actually giving them a logical answer, okay? They thought he was going to deflect like their fellow Muslims do every day on Speaker's Corner. Oh my God. The looks on their faces says it all, okay? They didn't expect that answer at all. See this guy, he was ready to film his gotcha moment, but when the Christian guy presented his points, he got so disappointed that he stopped filming, and then what did he do? He left. He left. These guys are not interested in a debate or the response to their so-called questions, okay? They don't go to Speaker's Corner to have a good faith argument. All they are interested in is sowing propaganda. He left. How ridiculous.
Any other questions about any aspect of Christian history, Christian belief, Christian values, traditions? This is your opportunity. Any questions? Gone.
So you spoke about the Crusades.
Yep.
Is it the same situation with the slave trade? Because they use Christianity to convert Africans and then bring them along in ships to the Americas.
Okay.
What did Islam have to do with that?
So he asked the question,
What was the question?
what does Islam have to do with the slave trade?
Okay.
No. Wait,
wait.
no.
Yeah, I'm going to address your full question. I'm going to address your full question.
No, but be fair, but
Let's be clear. Before the European slave trade of the 1600s, 1700s and 1800s that happened in West Africa, the Islamic slave trade had existed in the Muslim world for nearly 14 centuries prior. For nearly, ladies and gentlemen, for nearly 11 centuries, Muslims had taken slaves across Africa, across Europe, and had taken them into the Muslim world. And all through the time that Europeans practiced slavery, for the full 300 years of the European slave trade, Muslims continued to practice their own slave trade. They continued to kidnap people from Europe. They continued to kidnap people from Indonesia, people from India, people from Afghanistan, people from Africa, and take them into the Islamic slave markets to trade them as slaves. They did this because Muhammad was a slave trader who bought slaves and sold slaves. Christians, however, have ended the slave trade multiple times at different parts of history, at different geographies around the world for the last 2,000 years. The most recent example was when William Wilberforce and the anti-slave traders convinced the British Empire, using Christian arguments, to end the British slave trade. The British Royal Navy then sacrificed blood and resources to end the slave trade around the world, including inside the Islamic world. Ladies and gentlemen,
50 years.
now notice, the Muslim that asked the question
Where is he?
didn't even bother to listen to the answer, because that's how they do it. They're not interested in what you've got to say. All that they want to do is try and make a polemical point, and then they're not interested in anything you have to say afterwards, because they don't like the truth. Why did Christians try to abolish the slave trade? Because our example is Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ, in a time when slavery was normal, never had a slave, never bought a slave, and never sold a slave.
He nailed it, guys. He was brilliant and correct. Now, if you have been brainwashed by BBC documentaries or by university seminars, you might think that the Crusades were a bunch of evil white knights in tinfoil, pillaging the Holy Land for gold and glory. But that couldn't be more false. That is extremely farther from the truth. The Crusades were Christianity's response to 4 centuries of Islamic jihad that turned the cradle of our faith into a slaughterhouse. Let's go back to the year 632 AD, when Muhammad died and his successors unleashed the Rashidun Caliphate like a sandstorm on steroids. By 635 AD, Damascus, the pearl of Christian Syria, fell, conquered by what? Islamist jihads. 636, we have Antioch, the birthplace of Christians in the Bible, sacked and destroyed. By 637, Jerusalem, where Jesus Christ walked, also conquered. And what about Egypt's Coptic Christians? Well, they were all enslaved by the year 641. Armenia, the first Christian nation, was overrun by 639. Fast forward to 711. Muslim jihadists stormed Visigothic Spain, renaming it Al-Andalus. By 717, they are besieging Constantinople, the heart of Byzantium. By 730, these guys hit France. They were only stopped at Tours by Charles Martel, grandfather of Charlemagne. By 827, Sicily was invaded, their monks persecuted. Mind you, these invasions were coming with heavy bloodshed. By 846, Rome itself was raided. The Pope was paying jizya tribute like a demi. And don't get me started on the destruction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre by Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim in the year 1009. Churches were touched, pilgrims massacred mercilessly. Have you ever Googled the number of people Muhammad slaughtered in just 10 years? Talk more of in all his life. Try that. Not to talk of the whole of Islam. Yes, the truth is that atrocities happened on both sides, okay? Even with the Crusades too. I would have preferred there would be no killing whatsoever, but the fact remains that the Crusades defended the Christian faith against murderous Islamic jihadists. The Crusades were just 8 campaigns over 200 years, a quick pushback against the 400 years non-stop Muslim invasions that forcibly turned 75% of the Christian world into Muslim lands. The Crusades saved Europe, okay? They also saved Christianity, full stop. Without them, we would all be chanting Allahu Akbar instead of Jesus is Lord. Now, let's talk about the slave trade pivot, because nothing says gotcha like dragging up the horrors of Atlantic to dunk on the Bible. No, the Europeans were not kidnapping Africans from Africa using Christianity. Other Africans captured their fellow Africans and then sold them to the white men. Yes, Europeans enslaved millions of West Africans. It was ugly, it was horrible, but they made amends. In the end, they accepted their mistake. They asked for forgiveness, and then they deeply, deeply regretted their actions. But there is no way on this earth you can even compare the transatlantic slave trade to the Arabian slave trade that happened on this earth. Unlike the Atlantic slave trade, where slaves built economies, they had better treatment and sometimes even gained their freedom, and later on, all of them even went on to gain their freedom through the blood and sweat of Christian men like William Wilberforce and Abraham Lincoln. The Arab Islamic slave trade was more insidious. It started centuries and centuries before the Atlantic slave trade and even outlasted the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, it ran from the 7th century to the 20th century. 1,300 years of hell. An estimate of 10 to 18 million Africans were castrated, marched across deserts, and sold in Baghdad bazaars. 80 to 90% of male slaves were made eunuchs. And you know what it takes to eunuchize a man? Their lives were destroyed just for them to serve in harems, most of them dying in agony from botched oppressions. It is so gory, not to mention the women. They were used as concubines, sex slaves, and under the right doctrine, Quran 4:3 says it is okay. Europeans ended slavery in the 1800s, but Islam never really did. Even now in 2025, you have Yazidis in Iraq. They are going through hell. The kafala system has enslaved more African females than you can ever imagine in the Middle East countries, and it is very, very well concealed. I'm sure you don't even know about it. Sub-Saharan Christians in places like Nigeria, Congo, Sudan are facing ongoing enslavement at the hands of who? Muslim jihadists. Not to mention the fact that Muhammad killed more men than even Hitler and other world wars combined. Muhammad too had multiple slaves. He traded in slaves. Yet, these guys, these so-called Muslims, have the nerve to walk up to Speaker's Corner and then ask ridiculous gotcha questions. The truth is that these guys actually know how violent and how non-peaceful their religion is, and they are not really interested in the answer to their so-called questions. They are not. In fact, they are not interested in having any conversation with you at all. What they truly want is for you to convert to Islam without asking any questions. We know how disingenuous they can be. We know how disingenuous they can. They try to mask their disingenuity. But we know, just like in moments like this, when they ask bad faith questions and then leave immediately if the answer does not agree with them. I really want to say a huge thank you to this courageous child of God for speaking the truth without fear or favor. And as always, guys, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions. Please feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Subscribe to the channel, like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership or supporting the channel in any way that you can. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.